Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk to you about a few important topics. And the first topic is to be or not to be. In other words, should I become an expert or be a generalist when it comes to bioinformatics? The second topic is I want to talk about your future academic career. I know that a lot of us are interested in research. We might be looking for opportunities to go to graduate school, postgraduate education. Eventually, maybe our hopes are to be a funded PI in a lab or maybe a teaching professor. So I think that in these considerations, it's important to think about what are the alternatives to this kind of an academic path that we most likely see in our educators, in the faculty that we deal with as we are at the university. Also, whether the courses, lectures, training opportunities, workshops that you participate, are they enough or not enough? So what is really a way to develop your own personal profile with projects that you have completed, experiences that you've had, example work that you can share, and what kinds of event participation is important for employers when they look at your resume? Then I'll talk a little bit about growing your community, how you can build a network, and what does that networking really mean here in the space of bioinformatics. In any space, networking is important, but in bioinformatics specifically, who do you want to be friends with, connected with? How do you want to build out that interaction? And then I want to talk a little bit about the commonly identified gaps in somebody's experience so that you can know how to fill that particular gap or how to present the gap in a positive light. I also want to talk a little bit about different types of bioinformatics positions. In all of these fields, in research, in academia, in industry, you will find a variety of positions or role descriptions that are called bioinformatics. So really, some of these positions are DevOps, or people that have a computer science background, an engineering background, and people are looking for those kinds of skills to assist with bioinformatics kind of on the back end. They want to build out environments that are effective and use different types of comprehensive resources like high performance computing, which is very important in bioinformatics. Another type of a position is a researcher. So somebody that actually asks questions but has enough engineering skills as well as problem solving and biology skills to be able to get to that answer. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Bioinformatician, when people are actually looking for a bioinformatician, what do they mean by that? And I think most of the time they could lean towards this more of an algorithm development and methods person who knows enough mathematics to be able to solve complex problems, maybe in novel and different ways. So we'll talk a little bit about how can you develop relevant skills for each one of these directions, which are actually very different. And maybe also talk a little bit about more, where should you start essentially, and how to leverage some of the skills that or the talent that you already have to get further ahead in that particular space. Now, let me start by, first of all, introducing myself. My name is Ilya Brodsky. I have gone through many online courses, and as a result of this experience, I've actually realized some things about certification, about project portfolios, and about other types of issues that I think come up when we speak about gaining that kind of experience and background that people are looking for in careers. So what I realized is that, a lot of people visit on different websites, take online tutorials, maybe watch videos, and they see that as proof that they know something, right? And so I think that when it comes to bioinformatics, there is a kind of a, difference between what is a standard, right? So everybody is expected to have a certain set of skills. And then what is optional? And that optional component is what I believe differentiates you from the rest. So that could be your portfolio, what you have on your GitHub profile. If you have some, coding projects that you've done, analysis projects that you have done, that's where people might put up that notebook, that Jupyter notebook on your GitHub profile. Or even if you develop some kind of a method, that could be a place where you can deposit that. Kaggle is really an opportunity to problem solve, come up with new ideas, solve data analysis challenges better than somebody else. It's really competitive, especially around challenges that they post, but beyond that as well. You can actually build out a portfolio and it's searchable, and you can come up there as well. LinkedIn, I think, is an important place where skill credentialing is growing in significance. So you can actually take LinkedIn courses or use other coursework to actually build out your skill set and apply for jobs at the same time, right? So it kind of brings those two things together. And then other things that I think are really valued in the academic space, obviously, but actually are also valuable in the space of industry. So poster presentations, publications, those are very important because they really demonstrate beyond what you can explain on your GitHub profile or your Kaggle competition or a certificate. You can demonstrate what is it actually that you have solved and how have you approached a complex problem with a team or with a mentor, API. So really that's why we developed this kind of a pathway. And originally we were focused a lot on research problems because I think research is much more difficult than building out your skills. And so what we did is build out this process from basic training to more and more advanced training that especially focuses on projects around a specialization track. And once you have that project, to provide you with an opportunity to showcase the result of your project. So let's talk today about how this could be used in two ways. One for a research fellowship and another one for an industry internship. So for the research fellowship, we have a research fellowship program, and that program is really designed around a mentor-guided deep dive on a particular challenge where you can propose an independent project with that kind of feedback from both your peers and your mentor, getting it further into completion. That is showing how you were able to identify a very specific problem with an effective solution and demonstrate evidence that you actually found. Right, so I think that's especially valuable in the academic space, even though it has its value in the industry as well. But for industry, I think what they are looking for are different types of challenges that you could address. And, that understanding of the business problem that they're trying to solve, of the specific types of questions that might be more relevant for them are very needed. And I think that, that's where this new approach for industry requires for us to take a look a little bit deeper at what kinds of internships or what kind of positions exist for the industry itself. So on our portal, on the OmicsLogic portal, we recently started listing out job opportunities, curating them to identify different types of opportunities: more academic, more experience building, more internship in companies. And I think that is an attempt to link it to the ranking system that we have, where in the ranking we actually have the top experts that are the most sorry, that are the most accomplished in terms of how much experience they've actually gained. So let's talk a little bit about some of these examples. So let's look at these. I think a common problem that people have is when you look at a student's resume, they don't have enough experience. So here we have a category of jobs called experience building. And different companies, you can see some are in India, some are in the US, some are in Dubai. And you can visit this page to kind of see opportunities around the world, really, for bioinformatics. So it shows us that bioinformatics positions are in demand. Now let's look at what kind of information you can find here, and let's talk a little bit more about this. So here's an example of skill requirements and other requirements, right? And so these are typically hard skills, like you can see proficiency in Python, Perl, or R, so one of these three languages. proficiency working in a Linux environment and with Unix shell scripting, familiarity with the standard bioinformatics tools and databases, right? So these are kind of your hard skills. And then more of the soft skills is should have research and working experience in bioinformatics, should be able to analyze and interpret the data in a biological context, identify and or conceive novel data science approaches to better and more efficiently analyze client and public data sets, right? So these are important data sets to think about, or sorry, skills to think about as you are considering, am I ready for this opportunity? Now, this specifically is for master's degree students, maybe that have completed their master's degree, and they're quite technical. Let's look at another job. This opportunity is for undergraduate students. So you can see that they have a bachelor's degree or equivalent. So you don't even need to have a full bachelor's degree in bioinformatics, computational biology, computer science, or related field. And what is important, 5 years related experience working with cytogenetics data, etc. So let's try to kind of organize some of this information, and then we'll see what does it actually tell us. So minimum bachelor's degree is not in bioinformatics necessarily, but a bachelor's degree plus 5 years of experience. You have to understand pipelines, R, Python, and SQL, communication, tutorials, and documentation, cloud development, Google Cloud Platform or AWS, database experience, experience with commonly used tools and packages, and prior research experience. Let's organize these points and talk about what categories of skills do we have here. So first of all, you have something that we cannot reproduce elsewhere. A university can only give you that bachelor's degree. But then there's the 5 years experience piece as well. So this tells you that a lot of these job opportunities require that track record of experience. So it's not enough to start, today and 3 months later, bam, you've got a job. No, you need to have some years of experience demonstratable on your resume. The second kind of section here, the green one, are the technical skills. So pipelines, R, Python, SQL, cloud development, database experience with tools and packages. That's where certification is very important. So you should get a certificate in building pipelines, in R, in Python, in SQL, in cloud development, etc. And that is what the OmicsLogic portal can help you with, is getting those certificates. The last part of this are soft skills, communication, where you can develop tutorials and documentation. And we actually provide opportunities like that in our internship program here at Pine Biotech, and prior research experience, where really those research projects demonstrate your research experience as well. So let's talk about the first one. The first one is skills. You can really only show that you have a particular skill by showing your certificate. Now, I want to highlight here this example, which is a person who is a clinical biochemist. He is on LinkedIn and active on LinkedIn, but also active on our portal, and he regularly posts his certificates. For example, here he completed the R coding course, Introduction to Data Science or BioML course, right? So this kind of a certificate linked to your LinkedIn profile, linked to your maybe career aspirations is critical. And I think this is a great example of demonstrating what kind of skills do you have. Here's another example. This is one of our interns, Sri Gauri Krishna Kumar, who has developed a series of tutorials on a particular course, on the transcriptomics course, which really shows that she has the capacity for communication, for being able to edit texts, develop tutorials, develop documentation, present that tutorial, right? That's a very critical skill that a lot of companies are looking for. And finally, prior research experience. So I think a starting point for this prior research experience is having a project that you have started. But the project on the OmicsLogic portal is something that you begin with, but then you get to complete it, and a lot of people go through several stages. So for example, here we have one of our research fellows, Ruth Vivaja, who has completed a project, presented it several times, and eventually published this in June 2022 in this journal Immunogenetics. And she was actually posting that as well. So I think that's a great contribution to her ability to show prior research experience. So finally, how do we organize all of this information on our resume? So I think as anyone who is completing their degree or thinking about their next steps in the career, you want to now take all of this information and build it into a story that reflects your skills, your experience, the projects that you have worked on, and those soft skills that you want to speak about. So here you have an example of a traditional resume on your left, where you're looking at your, typical employment history, education, honor mentions, and things like that. And it's visually pleasant to kind of see this kind of a resume. But here's another resume that I just recently came across as we were hiring interns, where instead of just speaking about what this person has done in terms of completing a degree and going to different jobs, this person specifically is a high school student, right? So really somebody that's just going to finish high school and will kind of start their career, but already is participating in a bunch of different projects and experiences that he is involved in. So I think that this really shows how the nature of this resume is changing. You can start adding experiences like an internship, a project that you've worked on, some contribution that you made to somebody else's startup as a way to build out that lengthy experience that people are looking for. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. We do invite you to contact our team about help identifying those opportunities for you to advance your career, help you identify opportunities to build out those lacking elements in your resume with appropriate skills, with appropriate project examples and experiences that we can help link you to. And finally, build out your network. So here I do want to invite you all to join both our portal, which is a network of over 20,000 students from around the world, and our groups. We have a group on Facebook, we have a group on LinkedIn, has a lot of diverse talents, positions, experts, director level and below, that you can start connecting with, and importantly, share your achievements, share about your certificates that you're earning, share the projects that you are completing, and share your presentations. If you are able to present well, people will spot that. They want people who know how to communicate. So thank you again for taking the time to listen to this presentation, and I hope to see you in our next webinar.